It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Gannon assistant women's lacrosse coach, Coach Casey Hickman. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college women's lacrosse?
Yeah, so I kind of had a different process with this. I was a sports marketing major in college and played lacrosse in college as well. And I always knew I wanted to get into some sort of athletics. I didn't know coaching at the time when I was finishing up my career. I didn't really have that path set out for me. So I kind of went into like more of a 9 to 5 job, just a desk job that I wasn't loving. And then about a year and a half, 2 years after graduating, I started, I was like, I really miss lacrosse. And I always coached club or high school and little things like that. But then really getting back into the college level, I was like, I'm passionate about this. I want to try it. So I just go for it. So I applied to a lot of different schools, and thankfully landed with Gannon, and been here for about 4 years now. So, it was definitely a good jump. It was a scary jump, but it was definitely worth it. So
What was that like, obviously getting to play collegiate lacrosse for Shepherd?
it was a great time at Shepherd. I loved the time I had there. They were like my family for 4 years. And I have no bad things to say. Like my experience, I had a great student athlete experience. Loved my classes, loved my team. And that really just like escalated me wanting to work in college athletics too. Just being involved. We were very involved in game day for football and soccer games. We kind of ran those events as the lacrosse team. That kind of also helped me a little bit of realizing, oh, I really do enjoy this atmosphere and like the high pace atmosphere. So
What were some of your biggest accomplishments as a player?
as a player, I had a couple different records here and there. They've all been broken at this point. I think besides one, which is my most favorite, I would say, accomplishment is having the ground ball record. And I think that's a huge thing for goalies. That's what I look for in my goalies now is just being very active. So like that's a big accomplishment for me. But seeing all of the records that I've had now broken is a great like seeing how the growth has happened at Shepherd and they continue to grow. They're now in our conference. They're now in the PSAC conference as well. So at the time we were in the MEC. Now they moved over to that conference. So it's really great just seeing them like grow and records are made to be broken. So it's really really cool to see all of that.
Of course, now as a coach, what is that like, obviously seeing those up and coming players of Shepherd breaking your records?
It's great. I mean, I always am, tuning in to watch their games, and now that they're in our conference, it's split into the West and East. So last year was very exciting because my team got to play them as a cross conference game. So that was really cool to go and to shepherd back as a coach and watch or play against them and see the growth that they've had in that short amount of time. So I graduated 2018, so just 5 years ago, and that growth that they've had.
During your time, what was it like serving as the team captain for Shepherd?
It was very exciting because I think it was my senior year, so it was definitely one of those things where it's like you worked all the way up to that point, and I got to do it with one of my best friends to this day. Sarah went; she was another senior. There was only three of us in the class, so it was a very big role to step into. Being, you know, the two of us that were the oldest on the team, and it was a rewarding but stressful um, time. Like I think I wouldn't change it for the world to be that captain. And I'd do it again, but it was definitely had those up highs and lows and learning experience.
After your collegiate career, what was it like getting in and coaching on the club level of Frederick Starr?
So I did that during my time as a athlete at Shepherd during the summers. And that's when I started to work with goalies. So that was where I kind of developed that passion for being a goalie coach. And that's, what I love to do. So that was exciting to just kind of work with. They were younger, so they were in that youth age bracket. So a little bit harder to coach and a lot more basics of everything. But it was definitely again rewarding, and I learned that I want to be a part of like goalies and that coaching.
How was that transition like from going from being a college athlete to getting into college coaching and coaching at a different school?
I think it was definitely a difficult transition just because you have to realize like now you have different role and you're helping them grow as what you did as an athlete. And then you also kind of have that perspective of realizing not everything is as big as you think it is when you're an athlete to then the bigger picture as a coach. But it was exciting to learn all those things. And my head coach, Jenny Pulowski, she really helped me with that too, of like learning, this is now what you do as a coach. And this is, think about this when I wouldn't always think of that bigger picture. So she's helped me a lot as well.
What was the feeling like getting to come to Grand to become the assistant coach?
So at Gannon, it's been a great experience for me to be the assistant coach. I've also had other roles here too in the administration side of things. With it was ticket manager, was kind of something that was like put onto that title of assistant coach. So I got to work different sporting events, football, basketball. So it was always a lot of learning and growth that I was able to do. Again, going back to what I did at Shepherd in my undergrad with my lacrosse team, working those events. It was nice to be on the other side of things, working as a coach slash admin in those situations and really seeing the ins and out of game day. So that was also really exciting too.
What was that feeling like getting to step on to the Gannon field for the first time and getting to be on the coaching side versus obviously being on the playing side?
It was very different, but in a good way. And I came to Gannon in 2020, so right before the pandemic happened. So I got here in January of 2020, and then we only had 6 games before everything got shut down, unfortunately. But those 6 games were definitely a learning experience for me. And like I said, a very exciting time to figure out what my role is on a game day and how I can help make or break that game, depending on like what we're trying to run defense wise or goalie situation wise and things like that. So it was definitely a learning experience in that 2020 season.
How's it been like obviously getting to coach the goalies for Gannon as you were once the goalie at Shepherd?
It's exciting because throughout my career I kind of was self-taught in the sense I just picked it up in high school and didn't have really anybody teaching me those things. So I like to bring that kind of mentality of what I've learned over the years and into the goalies at Gannon. And it was a trial and error type of situation. I have some things that I've developed over the years of I always want them doing hand-eye and footwork every day, but back in 2020 when I first got here, that necessarily wasn't the case. So just learning different things that I had to kind of implement and like I said, I didn't have as much of the goalie coaching myself. So just learning like, oh, if I'm focused solely on them, like individual time with them and those things that maybe I didn't have always. So it's nice to kind of give back in that sense.
Of course, coming from you being a goalie and getting to set records, what has that been like obviously coming to Gannon and helping those goalies set records at Gannon?
It's been great because this is one of the oldest D2 programs. So they started in 1995. So those records are very big. So my first year, one of the players, Erin Renwick, she hit 400 saves in that year, which I was only on the tail end of that for her career. So her last year at Gannon. But it's just great to see like how much opportunity there is for the goalies. We have young goalies right now that it's exciting to get to be a part of their careers, and really help them have that as a goal of breaking those records and trying to like be on that leaderboard.
While also being the assistant coach, what is it like obviously being the recruitment coordinator for Gannon?
So we both are very involved in recruiting. It's been also a learning experience as well, going to a lot of different tournaments in the fall and spring. No, sorry, not the spring, fall and summer, in those big tournaments that they have. Just seeing all different cross games, different areas playing, talking to recruits from all over the US, some in Canada as well. It's been great to kind of learn that process, and as the years have gone on, be more involved in that. And yeah, it's been a great time, like learning how to recruit and all the steps it takes to get kids to be committed in the team.
What has that been like, obviously getting to step on the field as a coach, as you probably have played as a player for Shepherd against Gannon?
Um, Coaching them, you mean, against Shepherd?
Hmm.
It was a funny time. It was definitely because the coach that I had is still there, and it was fun to be like, now player to coaching against. Unfortunately, we lost by 3. It was a close game, but it was definitely exciting to kind of go full circle with it.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a coach versus for your players?
So as a coach, you definitely want to be more involved in that student athlete experience for them. Make sure the jerseys are set up, the locker room is put together, that the players can come and just be focused on that game time. They'll blast their music or do what they do in the locker room beforehand for about 45 minutes, an hour, get ready, get all the tape treatment, all that on their side of things to get ready, focus on the game. And then for us, it's more setting up the warm up, making sure we're all good, like logistics wise, and just having the game plan ready to go. So when we go in for locker room talk beforehand, everyone's on the same page, and then go into that warm up. And I'm very much focused on obviously goalies. So then I'm part of that warm up and getting them mentally ready for the game, and then going from there.
Who are some of the teams that you face each week in your conference?
So in our conference, on the west side of our conference, in the Pennsylvania State Conference, we have Mercyhurst, Seton Hill, Edinburgh, IUP, Lock Haven. I'm blanking on the last, Slippery Rock. I think I mentioned them as well. And then us. So that's the west side of the conference.
What is that like, obviously going to Slippery Rock to face them away at their facility versus having Lakeland come to you?
So we play everyone home and away, so we get that opportunity to play both home games and away games against our side of the conference. So it's always competitive. I think going to every school in our side of the conference is going to be competitive. We say this all the time in the PSAC. Every game is a winnable game, just that when you come that day, it's very competitive. So it's exciting. Whether it's home or away, we still have that same intensity, I think, in this conference.
What are some of the home game traditions that you've helped implement it?
So we've have a couple that the girls seem to like to do. Um, we've meditated before in the locker rooms. It depends on the year too of what they really want and need for that team specifically. We do a prayer together. We have different things in the warm-ups that, drills or some skills that they prefer. Oh, sorry. My light just went off. 1 second. Sorry about that. But yeah, so some small traditions here and there that they like to do throughout the years.
Of course, can you talk about the culture that you've started to help build?
Yeah, so we both came in, Coach P and myself, in that 2019-2020 season. And it was a smaller roster, so having to grow the roster throughout the years and in a significant amount too, has been trials and errors with culture, but that's something that's a big emphasis for our program. So in COVID years, we had different, obviously it was hard for everybody. So kind of learning that throughout the years of, it's never going to be perfect, but it's something that we always are working on to get better. We do something called Team Time every Friday in fall and spring, where we could do anything that's like culture related, book club, talking, through something that we think we need to work on, whether it's like we need to work on hard conversations with each other or just something learning wise, or it could just be something fun, team bonding too. So that's something that's pretty consistent that you'll see as a Gannon athlete here.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play collegiately?
So for us, we are very in depth with our process. We make sure we try to see them play live, whether it's in those tournaments when we go see them, or even film. We kind of learned through COVID that you can do recruiting through film. It doesn't always have to be live. So that's, seeing you play is definitely step one. Getting in communication with you, a couple phone calls, getting you on campus for a day visit, and that includes going to admissions to do a tour, meeting with a couple of our players so you can kind of ask them player questions, and then going to, if we have camps or clinics, those are always good options to kind of work with us, make sure you like the team, getting that atmosphere. So there's definitely a lot of steps for us. We want to make sure that the recruits feel comfortable that this is their home, and then vice versa. We want to feel like they're a good fit. So I would say we don't rush the process. We're definitely making sure it's a good fit on both sides.
Of course, as a coach, what are some of the things that you look at when going on the road and visiting them at their respective high schools?
So we don't really do as much high school visits. We really do like club tournament style. So we can see a lot of teams in a weekend of recruiting. Well, especially with two of us on the staff, we'll split up and I'll go one place and Coach P will go somewhere else that weekend, and we'll be able to see a lot of different clubs and different areas that travel to play. So it's not necessarily as much of a high school going to different high schools. We've done it before where we go to the high school during their spring season if they're already committed and we're in distance enough to do that. So like our New York schools, we've gone to their senior games and things like that just to show support, and it's kind of more fun and relaxed and less stressful for them. So yeah.
What does the official visit look like for those prospective student athletes when coming on it?
Yeah, so it just depends what you've done prior to that. So like I said, there's the option for admissions, talk and tour, talking with faculty of whatever major you want. We're very big in health sciences and there's some strenuous majors here. So getting to talk to professors would be really helpful. And then they have a host that they, will stay with overnight in one of the girls' dorms that live on campus. So they get some time with the team, get to know them and really see, what it's like being an athlete. They'll then try out, which is just a practice with us. So that's always exciting when we have like 5 or 6 girls on an overnight visit, official visit where they get to practice with us and really be simulating like they are an athlete and a student athlete here. So it's kind of what it entails. And then we'll obviously do some like coaches time, dinner with the team. So things like that.
As a college coach, what is it like obviously seeing those incoming freshmen get to put on that jersey for the first time?
That is always such a great experience because we are a spring sport. So it takes a very long time to get to game one. We actually have our first game on this Friday. So February 24th, but we start in August. So it's great to finally see them get to put that uniform on and all the work that they put into, the fall, their winter off season and the preseason that we have. So it's really fun and exciting to see them put on that uniform for the first time because it's such a long anticipation.
Was that like obviously getting to see those seniors putting on for the last time and then obviously go on to play professionally or even go on to other aspects?
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy because this senior season, I'll have seen the first class go from freshman year to senior year, and it's only 2 of them right now in that class. It's always been 2. So it's very sad and it's exciting to watch them grow throughout the years, but it is sad to see them have their last season with us, but it's always rewarding to see what they're going to do next. I think we have a very high success rate of Gannon players and athletes going on to whether it's grad school or going into the career they want to go into. So it's definitely just exciting to kind of follow along, especially with social media. It's really easy to watch them do what they're doing, where they go from here, and just know that you're kind of in that process of helping them grow and learning how to do more adult things. So it's great to see them, but it is sad to see that last season.
What are some of your future plans for the Gannon program moving forward?
Yeah, so the future is just being more consistent, making those playoffs. That's the next goal for us. The girls are really motivated to make playoffs. So that's kind of the goal, to start to get that consistency and wins. We've had a lot of close games in the past where we, lost by 1, 2, or 3 goals. We want to, go over that hump and start winning those competitive games, and then hopefully move forward into the playoffs.
What advice would you give those high school athletes looking to become college lacrosse players?
I would say the biggest thing is communication, making sure that you are staying up to date with your emails, your calls, your texts, whatever it is. And if you come prepared with questions, I think coaches love to just know all the questions and never feel embarrassed to ask whatever question, because at the end of the day, you're interviewing us and we're interviewing you, essentially. So just making sure like you're prepared a little bit more than you would think, and just ask the questions that you need for your process. It's never going to be, a coach isn't going to shy away from things. And also, if you do ask those questions, and you kind of get to read how the coaches are and the players. So just being confident in that, and keeping up communication is huge.
What advice would you give those freshmen that are entering their freshman year of collegiate lacrosse?
I would say for those freshmen, it's definitely a transition. It's a transition for everybody. So just know you're not alone in that situation. The level definitely changes. But once you adjust, you'll be great. Just lean on your teammates. But it always is a little bit of a transition. So just lean on your teammates and to get through it, and you'll figure out, what works for you and what's your routine and all of that. So
What advice would you give those seniors that are leaving the program to then go on to play professionally, whether it's Athletes Unlimited or the U.S. team?
So for that, we don't see that as much here in D2, but I would say for those athletes, just keep continuing that passion, grow the game. Lacrosse is, that's huge in that respect, is just growing the game and keeping people informed, and especially from areas that don't have it as much. It's exciting to see that growth in the game.
What advice would you give those coaches that are looking to get started in coaching in college lacrosse?
Just get out there and do it. I think I'm an example of that, where I didn't know if I wanted to do it in the first place. And, I've always thought in the back of my mind I could. And then I kind of leaned on different connections, and you have to put yourself out there a little bit. It's definitely a hard realm to get into, but lean on those connections you have from the people you played with, or just who you know through the sports world. And you'll find the right fit for you.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you out on social media along with the Gannon lacrosse program app?
So all of our Gannon pages, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, they're Gannon_women's lax or WLax. And then myself is just Casey Hickman on my social media.
Thank you again, Coach Casey Hickman, for your interview, and best luck in your future with the Gannon women's lacrosse program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Casey Hickman, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.